Jennifer Trimble, a Public and Media Relations Officer for Peel Regional Police. Thank you for joining us as we provide an investigative update on the Kenneth Law investigation. Once we get to the question portion, I ask that you please use the microphones located on either side of the podium, and I ask that you limit your question to one with one follow-up. In early May, Peel Regional Police announced the arrest of 57-year-old Kenneth Law of Mississauga. As the investigation progressed, other victims were identified by our partner agencies, and as a result, a multi-jurisdictional team of investigators was formed from various agencies across the province to investigate these circumstances. Today, I invite Inspector Simon James of York Regional Police to the podium to speak on behalf of the entire investigative team. Inspector.
Thanks, Jen. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today as we provide an update on the ongoing Kenneth Law investigation. My name is Inspector Simon James from the York Regional Police, and I am the provincially appointed multi-jurisdictional major case manager for this investigation. As we continue to move forward on this very complex case and eventually see it being presented within a court of law, we must ensure that the best possible case remains intact. Therefore, we are still extremely limited in the details that we can provide today. I will reiterate, as I have said previously in our last update, that we will not be releasing any information pertaining to the victims in this case. This is out of respect to the privacy of the victims and their family members. We understand that there is a significant public interest in this investigation, and that the media has a job to present the details to the public. However, I remind you that the victims and the survivors in this case are someone's son or daughter, brother or sister, or mother or father. They are all people, and they were loved by their family and friends who continue, in many cases, to live without them today. On behalf of the investigative team, we offer our sincerest condolences to the loved ones of those we have lost due to this tragic set of circumstances. Today I can share that police have laid an additional 14 charges of second-degree murder in relation to this case. These charges are in addition to the 14 charges of counseling or aiding suicide that were laid previously in August of this year. This brings the total number of charges to 28, 1 charge of second-degree murder and 1 charge of counseling or aiding suicide per victim. These new charges all relate to the same 14 victims that we updated the public on previously. These charges will be heard in the Ontario Superior Court of Justice in Newmarket, Ontario. The multi-jurisdictional task force, consisting of 11 police partner agencies from across the province of Ontario, continues to be vested in making this the best possible case and preserving evidence. The officers have worked tirelessly in an effort to find answers to questions that we all have. I want to thank each of our investigators from across the province for their continued work, professionalism, and dedication to this investigation, and for the support that they have brought to everyone impacted, including the survivors and their family members. These investigators have been drawn from our 11 police partner agencies. Those agencies are the Peel Regional Police, the York Regional Police, the Toronto Police Service, the Durham Regional Police, the Ontario Provincial Police, the London Police Service, Waterloo Regional Police, the Windsor Police Service, the Barrie Police Service, Thunder Bay Police, and the Ottawa Police. We are aware of other police investigations in other jurisdictions outside of the province of Ontario, and we are aware of other investigations in other countries outside of Canada. We continue to cooperate with law enforcement agencies and collaborate with them globally. We ask that the public continue to be cautious and vigilant of their online activities and to be aware of the distribution of sodium nitrite packages as well as masks or hoods that could be used to cause self-harm. If you or anyone you know has spoken to Kenneth Law about self-harm, or if you have noted payments or transactions related to any of the following companies, which can be seen on the screen here, they are I'm Time Cuisine, Ambuca, Academic, Escape Mode, or IceMech, please contact us at our dedicated tip line at 1-888-714-0003. If you wish to remain anonymous, you can always contact Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-TIPS. We also want to address anyone who may be struggling with their mental health to please know that help is available. If you require mental health assistance, you can call the Suicide Crisis Line at 988. That is a new number, and it's 988, or you can have access at 988.ca. I will now take brief questions.
Colin Freese, Globe and Mail.
Obviously, the entire police and prosecution theory of the case has changed greatly this week by you're now frontally alleging that Law was a killer and not merely aiding suicide. And I'm just wondering if you could elaborate on the Crown theory that makes you think you can prove in a court of law that he is responsible for deaths.
Well, we're constantly assessing evidence. It's a very ongoing investigation, and it's a continuous investigation. And I can say that evidence has come in that supports the charge of second-degree murder. I can't speak to that evidence at this time to preserve the investigation.
And for the uninitiated, what do you need to prove in second-degree murder? What is the core threshold of the charge?
Well, the second-degree murder charge is quite complex, and there's various facets to that charge. I'm not going to speak to that today, though. I don't want to talk about our evidence in order to safeguard the case.
Thank you.
Yes.
Matt Cardy with 640 Toronto to your right. Do you believe beyond these 14 that there could be more victims in Ontario? Are you pursuing sort of, I guess, those tentacles of the investigation?
That's all part of our investigation. We're looking into victims throughout the province, and we are aware of other victims in other jurisdictions as well, but that's all part and parcel of our investigation.
So more charges potentially coming?
I don't have an answer to that right now. I can't say one way or the other, as it's all part of an ongoing and continuous investigation.
And just one more question can you talk at all about the collaboration you're having with other police services, and can you say how many have reached out to you outside of Ontario?
I don't have a specific number, but we are collaborating with law enforcement agencies on a daily basis globally from countries all over the world.
Okay. Joe Warmington from the Toronto Sun. The first question I'm not clear about, are the victims from Ontario or other places?
The victims that these charges have been laid on are the same victims that we updated the public on in August. So these are residents of Ontario, male and female, between 16 and 36 years of age.
It's unprecedented that we could have an alleged mass murderer, one of the worst in Ontario's history, and not know the names of the victims. I know you've addressed it, but I think you are going to be taking this to court. At some point, you're going to have to name the victims. I just don't understand how the public is not being made aware of who these victims are.
Well, I think that's something that we're really hoping the media understands, is these are people. We will not be naming the victims to protect them.
We do understand it. That's why we're asking. They are people. And you're going to take it to court, and it just seems that to have 14 people allegedly murdered and the public, it's kept secret from the public. It's a big red flag, and I want to know what the reason is. And if the chief is here, I'd like the chief to address it as well.
Yeah, we will not be naming the names of the victims.
And how come? I mean, you can't keep a secret 14 people that have died. I mean, sooner or later it's going to come out. You might as well come from the source.
So, as I said, we're not going to be naming any victims today, and that's not being done.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
May I ask?
Yes.
Okay, I'm Grace Lim from Omni TV. I just wonder, like, due to the background of the suspect's ethnic, do we find any like progress about the connection with some specific like ethnic group or communities?
No, not that I'm aware of at this time, no.
Inspector Al Sweeny from CHCH in Hamilton.
Hi.
Can you give us a total number of the other countries involved, and is there anything you could say about the total number of victims in Canada and internationally?
We believe packages were sent to over 40 countries. In Canada, and this is an approximate, we believe about 160 packages were sent. That does not mean in every case there is a victim associated to it. I can only speak to the 14 charges that we've laid at this point. But as mentioned, packages to over 40 different countries globally.
Okay. And just to confirm, is Law in custody? Was he arrested yesterday?
Yeah, Mr. Law is currently in custody. His next court date, I believe, is December 19th in Newmarket.
Thanks.
Good morning. I'm Courtney Heels with CB24. Can you speak to what you believe the motive is behind this behavior by Mr. Law? Why he was selling this poison to individuals who seem to be vulnerable to self-harm, potentially suicide?
Yeah, that's something that we're obviously looking at very closely and forms a key part of our investigation. I can't speak to it at this point in time to preserve the investigation, but that is something that we're looking at is why and what the motive is for this case.
Okay. Earlier in the investigation, you acknowledged that Mr. Law was using different companies' websites to communicate with some of the victims. Could there be any repercussions there, any charges connected to some of the online tools he was using?
Yeah, that's something that we're looking into. We are aware of a number of websites that I won't name, obviously, in the interest of public safety, but it is of great concern to law enforcement. One of the challenges that we face are a number of these sites are located in other countries where Canadian law does not apply or in Canadian orders necessarily don't apply.
Can you name one of the countries? Like which countries?
I'm not going to specify which country the sites originate from.
Hi, Faiza with City News. We've heard the term serial killer being used. Are police using that term in this case?
We're focusing strictly on the evidence. It's not a term that we're using. We're looking at the evidence and focusing on that. And that's kind of been the mindset of the team. We're slowly going through the evidence and trying to find the facts of what happened.
And I know you talked about the charges and briefly about the victims, just to get a sense of just how many people are impacted here in Ontario. Can you paint a picture for us?
Well, we have laid charges in 14 cases in different jurisdictions throughout the province. And we are aware of other packages that have been sent out in Ontario. And that's something that we're looking at. I mean, it's a significant number of people that are forming part of this investigation.
Good morning, Thomas Dagg, CBC News. Was Kenneth Law in direct communication with these alleged victims?
That is something that I'm not going to speak to today, just to preserve our case. I don't think it's appropriate for me to comment, just to keep the investigation safeguarded.
And I know a colleague a moment ago asked about the term serial killer. Others may use the term mass murderer if the charges are proven in court. How would you just describe the gravity of the charges facing Kenneth Law?
There's significant charges. They're a significant charge. They have not been proven yet. They have to go to court. But it's clearly a significant charge to be laying this many. And that's not taken lightly by the investigative team.
Thank you.
Faggy Big with the Canadian Press. I know you can't identify the victims, so without identifying them, is there any way you can share some information, any stories of who these people are, what they were experiencing?
No, I can tell you that they're between 16 and 36. I will say more than one victim is under the age of 18. But I'm not going to get into further details to protect the victim's privacy at this time. We'll probably take one more here.
So I was just wondering about your interdiction efforts. I mean, have you been able to get unopened vials of sodium nitrite off the streets, as it were, in Canada or anywhere else? And are you aware of any strictures being placed on the substance over and apart from the law enforcement probe?
We have seized sodium nitrite that is suspected to be believed used in this case. I'm not aware of ongoing efforts outside of that, though. It's not part of our investigation.
Right. And when we were here in May, we heard a senior police officer speak of 1,200 packages. I think you just mentioned 160 packages. Can you sort of be clear on what we're talking about in terms of packages?
Yep. Over 1,200 packages were sent out globally to other countries. In Canada, and this is an approximate number, 160 we believe were sent out. And the 1,200 is over 1,200 we believe were sent out globally across the world.
So are mutual legal assistance treaty being engaged by the FBI, US DOJ, Scotland Yard, National Crime Agency? How are our international partners accessing the evidence that you are in a unique position to have?
We are working very closely with all of those agencies that you just mentioned.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
What was the benchmark you used to add 14 charges to the already 14 charges against
The benchmark?
Yeah, what was the deciding factor into adding the second murder charges?
It's through evidence that's come to light as part of the ongoing investigation, which is still continuous at this time. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming today. We appreciate your time.